I think maybe more money could be given into the green spaces around the areas because everyone is enjoying them so much and going for jogs and like really appreciating the nature around them.
Yeah, I think nature's like it's come out now. Like we've gone in and they've come out.
Hi, I'm Bobby, and I'm a London Wildlife Trust trainee, and my other trainee, Shahnoor,
Yep, that's me.
and we're in the second week of lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic. And we sat down and we're discussing the kind of issues and problems that we thought hadn't been addressed fully.
A lot of things on people's minds. You can imagine. No one knows how long we're gonna be in a lockdown for, or how long this pandemic is going on for. There's a lot of questions in our heads. So, what's the first point you want to go through, Bobby?
Um, I think the thing that maybe is affecting a lot of people at the moment, just kind of normal people in their day-to-day life, is how people are going to get money, um,
Yeah,
money to eat, money to pay rent. I'm worried. I'm worried for my parents. I'm worried for my friends. I'm worried for kind of everyone um, that's in the same situation. And I feel like we're just a bit confused as to if we've lost our jobs, where do we get our money from? Are we still going to have to pay
exactly.
rent? Do we have to pay
Yeah,
mortgages?
exactly. And people think, oh, lockdown, you don't really get to spend, you don't spend money because you're not going out. But
Mm,
how long does that last for before they have to go out and then they run out of money to buy things, essentials? But
mm,
that's another thing with essentials. A lot of small shops around, especially in my area. I don't know about yours, but
mm,
where there's like this prices have gone up by like 200, 300%.
mm.
So like tissues and pasta and rice and just essentials that you just basically need. They're so high, but because people are not working, it's very difficult for them to buy.
Mm, definitely. But then, like, I've spoken to a few shopkeepers as well, like, like the small shops, and they've said that a lot of the time, because their supplier has raised their prices, they
Yeah, I've
then
heard that
have
as
to
well.
raise
Actually,
their
yeah.
prices. That is, it's really difficult to kind of, but then at the same time, somebody's probably still getting paid the exact same amount, or maybe has lost their job, so they have even less money.
hmm
So it's a tricky situation.
For example, my dad, he does a little catering business, and he just started it recently.
Mm,
So like how it's working now is a lot of the ingredients and a lot of like the meat and vegetables and stuff he's buying, they're so much more expensive. But
mm,
because he just started up, he can't really raise the price of the food that he's giving out. So
mm,
he's not really making a profit. So
yeah.
so stuff like that for people like that is very difficult now.
Mm. Yeah, with small businesses, people that are self-employed as well.
Yeah,
It's so like because you don't actually know how to go about the situation if the government are gonna give you any money.
even us, for example, because we're doing a traineeship at the moment.
Mm,
Once the traineeship is done, we can't really apply for a job. So a lot of things are postponed in the moment. Once we're done with the traineeship, after the bursary we get, after that, after that runs out, what are we gonna do? Like we're gonna fall back on the family for
yeah,
not being employed as well. We're in a dire situation. Everything's difficult. We can't like it's a very difficult situation. But talking about difficult situations, people that do work or
mm,
people that are trying to work, they take
mm,
public transport.
mhm,
That's another situation where I want to talk about because
mhm,
people talk about social distancing, but public transport is probably one of the worst places. But you
mm,
see other countries when they've done a full lockdown, I think public transport's been shut down, so there's no buses or trains being in use. And but this gives the government time to clean. They do like a thorough clean. I've seen
mm,
like social media. I've seen videos of like Venezuela, China, and they're disinfecting the handles, the seats, basically stuff where people get in contact all the time. But I haven't because of people still going to work. Public transports are still open. People still need to get to places. So there needs to be a way for the government to just to I can't say stop it because first they need to support people before they can stop it. But once they stop it, they need to clean they need to clean public transports because that is probably where most people are most likely to get ill or just contract something from, because there's a lot of people holding the handlebars on a regular basis, hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah. No, we definitely need to be increasing the amount of cleaning that we're doing. I don't know if like at the moment it's kind of a personal thing
Yeah, that's
where
it.
the government
It's
isn't really
personal, but
supporting, yeah, like it's not really supporting the kind of um universal like cleanliness. Like I went into one of the small shops and like everyone's like bleaching everything, but that's their kind of own
yeah, that's their shop. Right.
responsibility, yeah.
I had an idea where, but the thing about this idea is it's not good environmentally.
Mm,
But the idea was that if they still if they still going to let people work and take public transport, to make social distancing easier, what they could do is make, like congestion charges or toll charges, don't
mm,
charge people to go into the city with their cars,
mm,
and make parking free.
mm,
So then more people would be taking their cars. So that would make it easier, as in there won't be a lot of people using public transports and stuff like that. So,
mm.
and I think
Yeah.
already, for example, like petrol prices have already dropped. So I think there's a few more people driving instead of just going out on buses and trains. Petrol
Mm,
prices have dropped, so there's a lot more people driving now. So
mm,
if they can just make parking free and like
mm,
cut the congestion charges, people would be alone in their cars, and that would just
mm,
make it easier. So they would just go to work, do their business. They would obviously wash their hands and clean themselves,
mm,
and they'll go back into their car by themselves. Then they'll
mm.
get home instead of being in contact with other people. But it's selfish in a way, because it would just be more like carbon emissions. But for the safety of us humans, it is probably the best thing at the moment, unless the government wanna support us financially. Just makes it
Yeah,
easier for everyone.
I agree. And then maybe also putting, like hand sanitizers on the public transport, like when you go in,
Yeah.
maybe they could do that, just like little kind of things like that, just to increase, like a hospital, like in hospitals you have like the hand sanitizers kind of everywhere.
Or like the entrances and exits.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
maybe
Yeah,
that. And talking of hospitals, um, have you heard about the NHS struggling with the kind of whole coronavirus situation?
yeah, I
Um,
have, yeah.
because I've heard, so I've been watching the questions with the UK government, um, and reading articles, and a lot of the time people are talking about the NHS struggling with the amount of testings happening. Like we're having a lot less people tested for coronavirus. That nurses and doctors are treating people that haven't actually been tested for coronavirus, so could be found to be positive of coronavirus. A lot of doctors and nurses aren't given personal protective equipment. I've had a friend of mine, and I've read a kind of story that she wrote about her mother, who is actually a nurse and works on a respiratory ward in a hospital in London. And she said she hasn't been given the proper PPE, and it's actually really dangerous because she's over 60 and she's trying to help and save lives, and even she can't do that without fearing her own life, and fearing of passing it on to other patients. And other nurses have been found to be not coming in and calling it in ill because they're not given the proper PPE.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
To be honest, the NHS, they deserve so much more than what they get, because what
Mm,
they have to go through on a regular basis, like the stress, the lack of sleep. If you think about it, imagine working somewhere where the risk, like the risk of someone dying in front of you is so high. Like this, you can imagine like the mental strain it has on them. But imagine happening this corona situation where it's not just they're risking, not the risk of the patient, but they're risking themselves. They just need a lot of support from the government, like money
mm,
wise, and just every like I can't really put it into words, because there's a lot of things that they need, but they can't be given because they're needed, if you know what I mean. So we can't really like give them time off, because there's a lot of people that need them.
Yeah.
But there's things that the government can do to help them.
Mm.
Because, for example, like the other day on social media, there was that thing where the public gave applause to the NHS, which, to be honest, it was a nice gesture. But I'm
Mm.
thinking, what is this gesture going to do for them?
Mm.
They're still going home with poor pay. They're still
Mm.
going home with the lack of sleep, waking up early. They barely get to see their family. So people applauding them, giving them a clap. Maybe just give them like a few seconds of like happiness, but appreciation. But I don't think it's gonna do anything for them.
Mm.
But like people saying, like for example, there was a lot of people saying that the NHS should get like you know how footballers get paid so much money and the
Mm.
NHS should get similar pay. That's the thing, it doesn't work like that because the footballers they get paid through like advertisements and big companies that put because they know like football is it's like a different ball game. No pun intended. But yeah, different ball game in a sense
Mm.
where that is just filled with that's just like a that makes money. The
Yeah.
NHS don't make money. They
Yeah.
put money in to save lives, but like for example, it
Mm.
wouldn't work because where the government gonna get the money from? Even though the
Yeah.
government's got a lot of money, it's such a like deep question to think about. If
Mm.
you're at the NHS, it's just like I
100%.
like sometimes it's have to stop and think they deserve more money, but then when you
Mm.
think of it logically, you have to think how are they gonna get it? Because they get it through
Through
like
the government,
yeah,
hopefully.
but they get it through our tax. We get free NHS because of like tax, so they
Yeah.
so would the government get a increased tax? We don't really get paid that much anyway.
Yeah.
So for the government to increase tax, that would be more of a toll on us. But then
Mm.
that would be helping NHS. So it's very difficult because you have to
It's,
sacrifice one thing to help the other. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's a
yeah.
very difficult situation when you just stop and think.
Hopefully now though the government will actually realize how important the NHS is because I think
Yeah,
a lot of it was a kind of more of a right-wing government taking the NHS and saying, okay, cool, it's not needed as much. But like this whole kind of idea of people only being safe as their neighbor. So it is
yeah,
that you actually do need to look after the most vulnerable people in society because if you don't look after them, you could potentially get ill from them. That shouldn't be the way that we should look after everyone, but hopefully now they will put more money into it and look after everyone as
mm,
best as they can.
they have to. This whole situation is an eye opener for everyone. I think
Mm,
not even just Britain, but just like around the world, like how what we eat, how we live, and
yeah,
just everything. Just like I think it's going to change a lot of things. Just this
I
whole
do.
this whole epidemic is going to change a lot.
Yeah. Hopefully people will be I feel hopefully people will look out for other people a lot more. And hopefully if the government we're gonna maybe put more money into the NHS after the coronavirus pandemic is over and done with. They realise they need to put more money into the NHS. Maybe they could also give more money to local communities and councils for green spaces because at the moment everyone's allowed out for an hour's exercise every day. So I feel like people have a lot more time to explore their surroundings. So I think maybe more money could be given into the green spaces around the areas because everyone is enjoying them so much and going for jogs and like really appreciating the nature around them.
Yeah, I think nature's like it's come out now. Like we've gone in and they've come out. Kind of like it's like the roles reversed.
Mm,
I just hear more noise because there's no cars going around. I just hear more noise, as in wildlife, like birds and stuff. But even at night time, where it's normally quiet, I still hear noise. I think like they've just given more freedom now because we've settled in. Like we can't leave because of lockdown. They've just been given the space that they've been wanting or they've needed for a long time. They've been given a bit more freedom and space. I've heard a story that in India that there was this endangered species of I can't remember what it was, but there was one endangered species that hasn't been seen for I think about like since the 1970s. But it's like there was a recording of it, like there was a recording of that species just roaming the streets, the empty
mm,
streets.
mm,
So people thought it was extinct, but it was like a critically endangered species that hasn't been seen for a long, long time, and it
Mm.
just came out roaming the streets because there was no one there. So it just gives you the idea that we are the issue that's causing
Yeah.
wildlife to like just get scared, and they've gone into hiding. So even though
Mm.
we think that London is pretty boring, it's very like just all the humans. But if we was to like this lockdown, it just made me think that if we was to just hide,
Mm.
you could hear and see a lot of things.
Mm.
If you just went out to walk, because if you just walk around, you would just hear, instead of hearing cars, you would hear the birds tweeting. There's a lot of things that you probably that open your eyes in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there needs to be a balance. I feel like it shows how much we took for granted of everything, and that maybe after this finishes and we come out of lockdown, like we will respect the environments around us and think twice about what we're doing and how it affects the environment and if we actually need to do it because not everyone's enjoying their lives that much now because you can't really leave your house, but maybe you'll think twice.
Yeah, but the thing is, maybe because we're trainees and we've been doing so, we got this positive mindset of this. But to be like the devil's advocate and be like the other side, humans are very selfish creatures. So
Mm.
even though we'll probably think of this for like a few days, people would leave and be like, "We appreciate nature. Let's go for walks." After a few weeks, they'll forget about it. It'll go back to the same old routine, and it will just be like there will be a point where they don't care, and it will just go back to normal. And then that's not what I think, but history always tends to repeat itself. So it's
Mm.
something that this pandemic has happened like quite not this sort, but there's been like the Spanish flu and stuff like that. There's been a lot of situations where we've been affected, but wildlife prospered, and then we think, we could do something to help the wildlife, and then it would only happen for so our like mindset is so short lived. But then after a while, the selfish qualities of humanity will come back, and we'll just start thinking about ourselves, and we wouldn't think of like wildlife and then just the environment. That's why I
Mm.
think maybe because we're trainees, so we got a different mindset. But I think
Mm.
because we live in such a capitalist Britain is very
Mm.
everything's just run by money. So you need money to support your family. So whatever makes money, people are just gonna look at that because
Mm.
they just need to take care of themselves. Not really, they don't really think about taking care of the environment because it doesn't really benefit them in the long term. Well, that's what they think.
Yeah, hopefully that hopefully fingers crossed people's
Yeah,
mindsets will
hopefully.
change.
Hopefully.
But
Hope,
people
I have to say, hopefully this whole situation just opens people's eyes on
yeah,
what
what's important, what's
what
really
what
important.
takes priority, not just the environment,
Yeah,
but like the NHS and just
yeah,
the
family.
vulnerable. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing is to reflect on this whole conversation is the government. They're not clear. Especially Boris, he does this thing where he says a lot of big words and he mixes it into
Mm.
a sentence. They need to be clearer. Maybe not Boris is not the right person to be clear.
Yeah,
The government itself needs to be clear
yeah.
and they tell us a plan that they have to support the people, that support the NHS. They
Mhm.
need to be clear, and I don't want to say positive about this because it's not really a positive situation. But instead of plastering all the deaths, they should say about all the patients they've saved, like how many patients they've saved, how many people have been healed, if there's like a vaccine on the way, or just be clear and like just like have like a plan where they say this is what's gonna happen now, this is what's gonna happen in the coming months, this is what's gonna happen in the future, this is what we're trying to do. We need the help of everyone. We should all be together. But instead of that, in the media, all we see is there's so and so cases, so and so deaths, death rises in here or here, but they haven't really said anything positive. So in this situation, the best thing we need now is support and positive reassurance on what's happening.
I completely agree with you. I think we need clear instructions of what to do, um, and especially in the question times when questions are asked, it would be nice to have a straight answer rather than talking around the
Yeah, the straight
subject.
answer. That's we're
Yeah,
Brit-
or just say that they don't know.
as British people, we're very simple. We just want a simple answer. Uh, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This was happen in the future, and then yeah, that's all we need. We don't need none of this. Everything just gets tangled and muddled. No one knows what's going on. So yeah, hopefully everything gets sorted. This whole thing gets cleared up.
Mhm.
The government support us, and they support the environment and support the vulnerable, to support the NHS.
Hope everybody stays safe and
Yeah,
yeah.
stay safe, keep yourself a distance from everyone. Yeah, that's it.